May 15, 1911, the United States Supreme Court delivers its verdict. Standard Oil, the largest monopoly in American history, must be dismantled into 34 separate companies. John D. Rockefeller has just lost everything he spent 40 years building. Except here's the paradox. 2 years after the breakup, Rockefeller's wealth didn't collapse. It tripled. The government thought breaking up the monopoly would cripple him financially. Instead, it made him the richest human being who ever lived, worth $900 million, nearly 3% of the entire U.S. economy. Rockefeller didn't get rich from building the monopoly. He got rich when the government destroyed it. But to understand how that's even possible, you need to go back to 1863, when the oil business was a death trap that was bankrupting everyone who entered it, and how Rockefeller saw that chaos as his opportunity. When Rockefeller entered the oil business in 1863, he saw in one major problem that was bankrupting refineries across America, which was fixed cost in a wildly unpredictable oil market. Here's how the trap worked. After the first oil well was drilled in Pennsylvania in 1859, hundreds of refineries rushed in to turn the black gold into kerosene for lamps. But building a refinery wasn't that easy. It required massive upfront investment, $10,000 to $50,000, just for equipment and infrastructure. And once you built it, you were locked into monthly expenses, whether you drilled crude oil or not. Loan payments on the equipment, wages for workers, and maintenance costs, all of it had to be paid regardless of crude oil prices being high or low. And crude oil prices were never stable. Prices would swing from $8 per barrel one month to $3 per barrel the next. New wells kept getting drilled and new refineries kept being set up. But when prices crashed in 1861, where oil plummeted from $10 to just 10 cents per barrel, refineries faced an impossible equation. If you kept your refinery running, you'd lose money selling kerosene below production cost. But if you shut down operations to wait for the crash over, you'd lose even more money paying all those fixed costs with zero revenue coming in. So, refineries kept producing even when it made no financial sense, hoping that the prices would recover before they ran out of cash. This flooded the market with even more kerosene and drove prices down further, which made the losses worse for everyone. Within a few years, most refineries got shut down, and many were just racing to see who could survive the longest, losing money before going bankrupt. And this wasn't a temporary crisis. It was the permanent pattern of the industry. But while every other refinery burned out cash to stay in market, Rockefeller did something completely different, which changed the economics and competition of oil business. Rockefeller understood the real power in oil wasn't refining, it was transportation. Kerosene had to be shipped by railroad from Ohio and Pennsylvania to customers in New York and Chicago, and there were only 3 railroads servicing the oil regions. Whoever controlled railroad access controlled everything. Rockefeller then orchestrated the South Improvement Company scheme. He convinced the 3 major railroads, New York Central, Erie Railroad, Pennsylvania Railroad, to give Standard Oil massive shipping discounts, up to 50% off. While a competitor paid $2 per barrel to ship, Rockefeller paid just $1. And why would railroads agree to this? Well, railroads had massive fixed cost of repairing tracks, paying workers, whether they shipped 1,000 barrels or 10,000. They needed volume to make money. One huge customer with guaranteed shipments was worth more than 100 unpredictable small customers, and only Standard Oil had the capability to send massive cargo shipment over the time with guarantee. But here's the truly crazy part. Rockefeller was even more smarter than our thinking. Not only he negotiated for discounts up to 50% for his cargo, but also he negotiated something called drawbacks. Every time a competitor shipped 100 barrels of oil and paid the railroad $200, the railroad would then turn around and pay Rockefeller $50 of that $200 as a loyalty fee, just for having Standard Oil as their customers, and its 10,000 barrels month contract. So Rockefeller wasn't just getting cheaper shipping. His competitors were literally funding his shipping costs every time they used the railroad. In some months, Rockefeller's shipping was effectively free, paid by his rivals. The rivals were left with 3 choices: keep losing money, shut down operations, or sell to Rockefeller. Not so surprisingly, many of the refineries opted for a third option and sold it to Standard Oil. Instead of paying cash, Rockefeller paid for acquisitions with Standard Oil's stock. He'd tell desperate owners, "You become a shareholder in the winning company." Between 1872 to 1880, he acquired over 200 refineries this way. By 1880, Standard Oil controlled 90% of the total U.S. refining. Business stories doesn't sound great until and unless a spice of feud, loss, or corruption is involved. And that is what exactly happened in this story, too. One lady destroyed Rockefeller's Standard Oil empire into 34 pieces legally. Meet journalist Ida Tarbell, a very smart journalist who took an oath of revenge to destroy Standard Oil. Ida Tarbell's father had been an independent oil producer in Pennsylvania during the 1870s. He was one of the small operators crushed by Rockefeller's South Improvement Company scheme. The family lost everything, after which Tarbell began publishing 19-part exposé in McClure's magazine in which she exposed the history of the Standard Oil Company. She documented illegal railroad rebates, predatory pricing, pipeline monopolization, and bribery in government. Her series became a bestseller and spreaded like a wildfire and triggered President Theodore Roosevelt's federal antitrust lawsuit in 1906. 5 years later, the Supreme Court took actions and ordered Standard Oil to dissolve into 34 separate entities. Little did she know, this move of her wouldn't destroy Rockefeller wealth, but rather made him the world's first recognized billionaire. After Standard Oil was broken into 34 companies, the stock market did something unexpected. It valued those 34 independent companies higher combined than the unified monopoly had ever been worth, because of the three-link wealth multiplication system. Link 1. Right product at right time. Kerosene was Standard Oil's main product, but kerosene demand was diminishing because electricity was replacing oil lamps. The future was petrol, and Henry Ford's company, Ford Motors, was mass-producing 200,000 cars per year, which directly benefited Standard Oil. The breakup happened exactly when oil was transitioning from a mature lighting business to an explosive automotive fuel business. As one unified company, Standard Oil would have been slow to pivot because of internal politics and slow decisions. But 34 independent companies? Each could specialize instantly. Some focused on gasoline refining, others on distribution, and others on exploration. The breakup accidentally created a diversified portfolio entering the industry's highest growth phase, urgency. Link 2. Competition Incentive Multiplier. When Standard Oil was unified, divisions competed internally for budget. Politics and internal conflict constrained growth. After the breakup, those same divisions became independent competitors, with management teams holding equity in their specific companies. Link 3. Regulatory risk evaporation. Before 1911, Standard Oil was burning millions every year fighting antitrust lawsuits and defending against political attacks. After the breakup, those costs vanished. Exxon wasn't a monopoly. Chevron wasn't a monopoly. They were just large companies no one cared about. This freed capital, and all the money and energy now go straight into growth instead of legal battles. These three forces, product timing, competition incentives, and regulatory relief, compounded together and played major role in quadrupling Rockefeller wealth. The breakup occurred when oil was about to explode in value due to automobiles. It unleashed competitive growth, and it eliminated the regulatory burden dragging down profitability. By 1913, Rockefeller's stake in the 34 companies was worth $900 million. The government tried to punish him. Instead, it triggered a value multiplication that made him 3 times richer in 2 years than 40 years of monopoly control had. If you want to see how modern tech monopolies used this exact playbook, building empires designed to survive regulatory breakups, watch this video on why big tech isn't afraid of antitrust anymore.